So I'll start this out on my normal thing. We'll go over this computer here. No, this is not one of the ones I got from Goodwill. I actually think I got a really good deal on this. I didn't buy it. I didn't negotiate on price. You know, you probably seen, if you watch my other videos, I had an older an older HP computer that had originally an i5, and I upgraded it to an i7 3770. And then I put 16 gigs of RAM in it, and I put like an NVIDIA. Well, in that video, I don't think I put the 630 in it, but I ended up putting a 630 NVIDIA GT 635 into that system, since I upgraded to an i7. I felt like that other video card, which was this one, which was 5450, wasn't good enough for it. But I wanted an HDMI out for that computer, and that one, the board didn't have one. So I upgraded, you know, three things in it. Originally had no RAM in it, no storage. I added 16 gigs of RAM in that system. And I sold that, and the guy came to pick it up. And he was like, well, I have this other computer. He said something about it gets to AMD something on the screen. I was like, well, okay. All I seen was a case. I didn't, you know, he had the side panel open on it, and I didn't open it, nothing like that. I didn't even really pay attention to it, because he's like, well, would you take $20 off this computer? And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. So when I started it, right, you'll see after I do the walk around, right, so we have, I believe this is a blue fan in the front. This fan wasn't even hooked in. It was a rear fan hooked in. It looks like this one's never been used, because there's only one fan header in here for the motherboard. But it did have maybe 2 DVD ROMs or something in here. I don't know what that is, but the power button's here. If you open the door, it gives it a cleaner look with the door closed, right? But then you can open it and have the DVD ROMs in it. So it's like, oh, I don't want a system that has DVD ROMs in it because I don't like the look of the front. Well, this one takes care of that. It is dirty, it needs to be cleaned, but otherwise it doesn't look beat up to me. It looks like this is kind of, the sides seems like it's been pushed in a little bit, but can be straightened out. This side, you know, has a panel for cable management. Is dirty here. This is screwed in. The main one is not. Does have a scratch on the top, but maybe it will buff out a little bit. And then on the very top we have one USB 3.0 and then two 2.0s. I hate when they do this. It's like, just eliminate these and put 2 of these. Don't even put these in. Like, what does it cost? Is it going to cost some more to add just one more of these? It's on the same cable, for you don't have to run this cable and this cable. With this motherboard in here, it's in here now, this is not even hooked in. So these are hooked in. You know, you add one of these, guess in the middle, you know, it's like, oh, they have this and this. If they just had USB 3, this wouldn't be hooked in without an adapter. Maybe that's what they did. So you got a reset button here, and then your power button's in the front, which is kind of pass through. This button's pass through to the inside, because it has a power button here, and that just kind of hits onto there. Then we'll spin this on around, which I forgot to do with the other computer. So so we have a power supply here, right? It's a power switch, no I/O cover, right? So we have, you know, mouse and keyboard, this display port, DVI, VGA, and then we got 6 USB 2.0s and Ethernet and your audio, and then we have our XFX video card, so it's DVI, HDMI, and DisplayPort. And then two of these are missing, and this piece that goes here is missing. Like I said, the dude just said, will you take $20 off? And I after that I was like, yeah, because I've been looking for a case. So yeah, I've been, you know, looking for a case for something else, but I don't really know what I'm going to do with the case. If I'm going to change the hardware out of here and put something else in it. But I'll rotate this on the side. That didn't sound good. It sounded like a screw just fell. Yeah, it kind of sounded like a screw fell in here. Maybe it's just this. Maybe it's just this floating in here. I slide this over, and I did put this down because I don't want to have this on my table getting all scratched up. Who knows how good this paint is, but you can see here we do have 120 gig 120 gig SSD, so we're already ahead right there. So you know, I know that works because I powered it on because the issue he was saying, and I got in a hurry. You know, like I said, this wasn't hooked in because it's a USB, and there's not one on this board. There's not a USB 3 header on this board. And is an Asus motherboard. Probably underneath the video card. I do know this is an AMD RX 460. It is a 4 gig video card. We have one 8 gig stick of RAM right here. And that's it. Like, worried about where that... I'm gonna take the side panel off, and hopefully that's in the that screws in the back somewhere. It's not in the power supply. I can't tell where that sound's coming from. Okay, I think I see it. So there, you know, like you're zoomed in, you can't really see anything. We'll kind of pick that up because I see. Yeah, I see it right here. It's just a zip tie. So this is it was a zip tie back there, rattling around. But never mind. Okay, so that was not, well, just knock my drink over so when I open it it can explode everywhere, right? So now it's got me wondering if that's not in the power supply. Just remove this so we can stop hearing the noise and whatever. All these lines are going to make noise. And like usual, I moved everything away. Yeah, I hate to start this up now not knowing where that noise came from. It surely sounds to me like it's in the power supply. So I guess move you back up here again. You see what I'm doing? Like don't want to test this. I already had it on too and mentioned that. It's like, dang, I don't want to turn it back on and then short this power supply out. Like all these cables are freaking like tangled up in everything. I'm gonna unhook this and is it gonna come out? Try to get this mess of cables out of here. And see, yeah, I'm guessing that's where that noise is coming from. Somehow a screw got in there. Or something's in there, and it can feel it moving, like either it's on the other side of the power supply or in the power supply. So I'm guessing it's inside the power supply, whatever is moving around. And like I said, I don't want to turn this on not knowing what is going on. Like if I have a screw or something floating around in there and short this power supply out. It's not the best in the world. It's just a thermal take, Smart 80 Plus. It's not even bronze, it's just 80 plus. This is 600 watt. Yeah, it's whatever it is in the power supply. Yeah, and it is a screw in there. I could see it already. So what we'll have to do is grab a different screwdriver, because then we're smaller. And who knows how long he's been running this like that. I guess it would have been fine, because it was, you know, the power supply was sitting in here with the fan down, so the screw would have fell downward. So yeah, I don't do what I do. You know, it's kind of an iffy thing, and this has never been opened because the void warranty sticker's still on there. Because, you know, there's a bunch of power still stored in this thing, and it was started up. Amazingly, I didn't ruin it because that screw in there. We'll take that out of this now, and then we'll obviously put it back together and then put it in the system and show you this thing works. But yeah, for $20 I can't really beat it. Now obviously I'm gonna clean this whole thing up. And what the heck just happened there? Screw just jumped. So just get in the specs too as I'm doing this. So it has an i7. You know, so it isn't like something too bad off. How's this come out of here? Okay, this stays in there. Sometimes these guys do not want to come out even with the screws out of them. Like, they want to give you a fight. Now, did the screw fall on the floor? Or has it not fallen out yet? Yep. So there is our screw right there. There is a screw that was inside of it. Yeah, this thing is dusty inside pretty bad. We won't get into cleaning this on camera because it's extensive, but the doesn't look that favorable. That's inside wise. But Thermaltake's been around for a long time. I was buying them when they were really a long time ago, and then I just kind of stopped because I was getting decent deals on the ones I bought. Like the first one I bought was a 600 watt unit, and I remember that mostly because the shop used to be in town on First Avenue, and they closed down, and I bought a case from them, and they had the invoice for the case. They got like 4 of the cases and like some other stuff which I don't remember, but I gave them, and it was cheaper than Newegg price. It was a Thermaltake, actually a Thermaltake case, and I don't remember the price I gave them, but it was cheaper. I bought it from her. There's a woman that owned the shop. I bought it from her, and it was actually cheaper to buy it from her than what it was on Newegg. So I don't know if she just went out of business because she was underpricing too much. But yeah, and then they went out of business, and then I seen the ad up saying that she's basically selling everything out from like a garage sale, right? So I was like, well, I'm gonna go to that garage sale, see what they have left, and so I ended up buying 600 watt, but it was an 6. I think it was a 600. It might have been a 650. You know, it might have been a 650 rated power supply, but I know it was like a 600 or 6. Either is a 650 watt, or it was a 650 watt, but it was an 80 plus bronze rated one. And I had that in my system for a long time. I actually moved it through like 4 systems. And then the last system I had it in was with basically like one of my friend's systems. And then they had it for a long time, and we ended up selling that system off with that power supply in it. Who knows? Maybe it's still running. And I doubt it. That was a long time ago. But yeah, that was the first Thermaltake I bought, and I didn't have problems with it. Like I said, I moved that system to, had to been at least 4. I want to say 5, but at least 4 systems, and it did me perfectly fine. You know, I wasn't putting it in no high-end system. I never really had a high-end system, right? Everything I had was kind of still good for the time, but nothing serious high-end. Just keep these two out. Kind of just drop these in there. Like I said, I'm just setting this stuff in here because we're gonna test this and actually show you that it works, and I explain the issue with this guy. Let's just pull these up a little bit more. Drop them in here. Oh, that's need that one out. That's for the CPU. It does. The motherboard does have an 8-pin for CPU power. One thing I did is I unplugged the back fan and plugged in the one that's the blue. So then move that down here. Hook all the stuff back in. And this, like I said, is an Asus motherboard. We'll take the video card out. I guess we'll do that now since we're already taking stuff apart. And maybe it's underneath the model number for this thing. But like I said, the system he bought from me had an i7 3770 in it. And this has a i7 2600S. And you can see here, it's not too bad. The cooler looks really small. Now from here, it didn't look that bad, but you look in here and look how small that cooler is. It's probably good enough for this. It is, you know, like I said, I couldn't tell on here because it's kind of dirty. But to me, it still looks almost like it says a 480, but it is not a 480. It's just a 460. Got a shield here that's, I guess, helping the card stay up. Yeah, that's a dinky thing, right? And so with this, it says Windows 7 ready. And we got a, I can't tell. That looks like a PB067M DD TPN. It's an Asus motherboard. So we do have 1, 2, 3, 6 gig SATA hookups, and then it looks like 2, or maybe 2 SATA. This is 3, and these are 6, I guess. But everything else is hooked in except this here. We'll put this video card back in here. What do you guys think of the 460 though? Especially when it has 4 gigs. I don't think I ever had a 4 gig model. I think all of them I had was like 2 gig models. I think like the first 4 gig model I had was like a 470 or maybe a 570. Might have been first. I don't remember on that. Right? But it does require one 6-pin to run. And like I said, we have 8 gigs of RAM in it right now. One 8 gig stick, an i7 2600S, so it's a slower clock down speed one. 600 watt thermal take power supply, and then the PNY 120 gig SSD. So I don't know really what else. Like the system we traded off was, the video card was slower than this one. The SSD was smaller than this one, and all I gave was $20 for it because I didn't look at the specs. Like, let's move it back over here and pan back up. Yeah, I didn't look up. I didn't look at the specs or nothing. I was like, okay, yeah, I can drop it $20 because he was like, would you take $20 off? And he was saying that it had problems. Obviously, it was just. The problems it had was just because of Windows. So we'll check this out. We'll hook this in the DVI. And everything in here is still hooked up like it's supposed to be. Hook in the power with the switch off. And then once we get this in and start it up, I'll tell you what the issues were. It's kind of weird. It's something I've been talking about wanting to do. And I did like on 1 or 2 other systems. So like I said, we'll hit the power switch. So there we go, we got fan spin, video card's up, and we're getting the boot into Windows. Are we getting a boot into Windows? Yep, so it's booting into Windows now. We'll move you back up here again so you can see the motherboard's on. And there you go. And I had to do a fresh install of the operating. But there we go. We're booting into Windows, and then we'll open Task Manager. And you know, we have, zoom in a little bit. Hopefully it's not too awful. I know most of you are going to be on a phone, so you're not going to be able to really see it. And I keep my hands out of it because when I put my hands in there, it wants to focus on my hand. So we have the i7 2600S, and it says it's running at 2.8 gigahertz. Right now it's boosting, I just seen it at 3.6 gigahertz, right? But yeah, I would have took more money off of it if I knew that, you know, the specs of it, and would have looked at it better, because all I seen was a case and didn't worry about anything else. He said, hey, will you knock 20 off it? And I was like, oh, that case is, yeah, that case is probably worth 20. He's like, he was telling me how it was like going to something that said AMD on the screen and not getting any farther, right? So I thought, there's something wrong with it. Obviously there's something wrong with it, because who knows what it is. You know, my original thoughts were like, because it had Linux Mint on it and it had Windows on it, someone did delete Linux off it, but some reason it still had like the boot partition that gives you the option to switch from Linux to boot either Linux or Windows. Everyone, you know, in my comments always says install Linux, so you know what I mean. That little boot screen that will come up in the corner and it says boot from either Linux or Windows. That wouldn't come up. It was just getting a little square. And then this was set to RAID anyways. I changed it to UEFI, and then I manually, because I had two partitions on it, right? So I told it to go to Windows, and I got into Windows, and it had the lock screen on it. So we had a password on it. I was like, okay, that's not, we'll just, I don't know what Windows version it has in it. We'll unlock the password, get in it, so I can see what version of Windows is, and see what the key for Windows is in case it doesn't detect the Windows, so I wouldn't have to, you know, so I'd have the Windows key, right? But it was like, after that, unlocking it, it did not want to boot anymore. So I went through and, you know, repaired the boot partition and all this, and did all the work to get it like I would normally do to get a system that was stuck like that, and it wouldn't. It kept trying to go into Linux, but Linux wasn't. Maybe it's there, but most of it was deleted, except the boot part. But it couldn't boot into Linux, but it kept trying to boot into Linux because Linux wasn't all the way there. Like I said, there might have been a way to fix it, but I was like, well, you know, just not worry about it. I don't need his information on there, so I'm not gonna try to fix a boot issue on Windows when I'm gonna do a fresh install of if I'm gonna do it anyways and keep it dual boot, I'm gonna do a fresh install of it because it has his information on it. I didn't want that, so I was like, I just do a fresh install of Windows 10, and it is, I think it's home, because I just guessed. I was like, I'm guessing because of hardware in here that it's gonna be home. And yeah, so it's Windows 10 Home, and it is activated. Should have activated because I had it online so it could do the auto update for the video card. I didn't actually install the drivers for the video card. So yeah, it says Windows 10 Home is activated. But yeah, this is a decent little computer. We'll zoom back out because everything else I mentioned is on here. Except this if this is gonna pick up or not, but just show we do have an AMD Radeon, get my hand out of there, AMD Radeon RX 460, and it is a 4 gig video card, as you can see there. But I myself have no room because I didn't move this chair. Zoom back out. But like I said, when the guy come and picked that other, it was an HP computer too. I'll tell you what I did with that other computer, right? So I did go with the 350 watt Seasonic power supply. That's a really good power supply to me. I think it's way underrated. Then I had the original HP board that I put in an i7 3770, so it will be faster than this CPU. And I put 16 gigs of RAM in that other system. So, and this one just has 8. So this is probably better or the same quality. Even this is 600 watts, so it's probably a little better power supply now. And it took a downgrade on the CPU and the amount of RAM. But we got a better motherboard probably, and a better video card, because like I said, the video card in that other system was only an NVIDIA GT 635. Is an OEM card for Dell that I put in there. So the system worked, but then that system had Windows 10. I think it had Pro. It might have had Home on it. I can't remember. But it was only that 90 gig SSD that I had in it. So in a sense, we got a better power supply, better case, better motherboard, better video card, and a better SSD out of the deal. I still have to test it more, obviously, to see if there's any other hidden issues. But I don't know. I like maybe to go with 16 gigs of RAM. I do actually have 2 sticks of RAM that are identical to this, so I can keep this one 8 gig and put my 2 8 gigs in here, so it'd have 16 gigs of RAM. But I honestly, I think I won't even do that. I think I'll keep this case for a different motherboard and power supply, a different motherboard, and maybe use this video card in something else. Obviously, I don't have any other system actually to put this in right now. Besides, I guess I could put this video card with the motherboard that I just did a recent video on that had a 6100. I guess this video card could go for the 6100 system. And then put this motherboard and CPU in a basic looking case. I do have another case that has no side panels on it, but I did buy a big piece of plexiglass, so I'm going to cut that and use that as side panels. Maybe I'll put this motherboard in that case with plexi. I'm not for sure yet. Or I might just leave it in here for a while because I don't have anything. I honestly kind of like the case because of the fact that it still has DVD-ROM slots in it, which I don't have any extra DVD-ROMs, which I'm out of. Everyone says I don't want one, but they want one when they come to buy one. So yeah, I don't really know exactly what I do with this system yet. I might just leave it as it is and post it up as is. After I take it apart like I normally do, I take the power supply back apart, fully clean it out, clean the fans up. I'll probably go, get an adapter from Molex to a 3-pin, because this back fan is a 3-pin. And there's no other headers on here for a fan. It has one, and that's a system fan. I don't see any other fan headers besides obviously the CPU fan, but that's it. There's no other cables in here to hook another fan in, unless I do a splitter. Hopefully you don't hear these people downstairs arguing, but yeah, maybe I'll leave the system like it is, and at the least I'm going to pull all the stuff out, clean the power supply out, clean the motherboard out, clean the CPU cooler, add new thermal paste on it, clean the case fully out, and then get a Molex, the 3-pin, a Molex, a 3-pin adapter. You see that? Yeah. So I'll get a Molex, a 3-pin adapter, so I can have this rear fan working. Like I said, this fan in front is dust free. It's like this was never hooked in, and obviously you can see in the front there's no dust buildup in it either, and that has mesh behind this metal. Besides whatever, got some stuff right here, but the fan in the back is dusty, the CPU is dusty, the power supply is dusty, the bottom of the case is dusty, but that fan is like perfectly clean. So it's like it's brand new. And the only reason I wanted to hook it up is the showcase is a blue LED. But yeah, I'm gonna call it at that. Like I'll go a rough what over this is. So it's an i7 2600S, 8 gigs of RAM, AMD RX 470, 8 gig video card, 120 gig PNY SSD, and an 800 Thermaltake Smart 600 watt power supply. And I don't know what this case is. It is I have no idea. Usually the fan gives away, but it just has a generic label. Maybe it's I have no idea what the case is. If you know what kind of case it is, leave that in the comments below. But I'm gonna call it a wrap on this. Leave your comments below. You know, like I said, I don't know what I really do with it. Maybe I'll message them back, say, hey, you know, I got this system running. Do you want it back? You can, you know, basically pay a little bit of money for for me troubleshooting and redoing the operating system and cleaning it up and doing all that stuff or whatever. You know, I don't know. But I guess we'll just call that the end of this video because it's super long. No.